You could say she's like a prairie fire. You could say she's like a... Oh, you could say she's like a prairie fire. A soaring spirit riding on the flames of her desire. If you feel her burning in your soul tonight, Prairie Fire is the name you'll know her by. Look how you light the midnight sky. Prairie Fire, tell us why.
Welcome to a new season of Prairie Fire. I'm your host, Sarah Edwards. We begin this episode on the subject of paper. Now, I know paper might seem ordinary, but it's actually an art form. And did you know that there's a place in central Illinois where you can make your own paper using a technique that's thousands of years old? Prairie Fire's Tanisha Spain takes us on a tour of fresh press paper.
My name is Eric Benson. I'm an associate professor of graphic design here at the School of Art and Design, University of Illinois. And Fresh Press is a studio I started 12 years ago. And here we make paper by hand out of agricultural waste from the local area. We don't use trees, that's the big thing. And instead we kind of went back in time, right, in terms of how people made paper back in the day. So we're using agriculture. So we work with the student farm here and we're getting things like corn, rye, hemp, prairie grass. And we follow a very similar process to commercial paper making, right?
Interesting.
And it's on the back wall here. You can see the whole way it's done. It's just that we do it by hand. We get the stuff from the field, the harvest, you might want to call it, and we have to chip it down. Once we chip it, we can cook it, and that makes it, more malleable, and we can put it in our beater here. And then we go through the pulling and pressing and drying process.
Okay, so now we're at the third step, which is beating, pulp the fibers, and we're here with Meredith and E, both studio managers here. So tell us a little bit about this step and what we're going to be doing and why it's important in the process.
Okay, so we've already chipped and cooked this miscanthus, which is a prairie grass, and we're going to use a Hollander beater, which macerates the pulp. It macerates the fiber and turns it into a pulp by using this, it's like a water wheel of blades. It'll spin around and move the miscanthus through the machine for about, I think 2 hours gets us a really nice paper. So what it's doing is opening up the fibers. They've already been cooked for 3 hours. So that opens up the cellulose fibers and allows the papers to adhere to each other. And this is going to beat them to a pulp.
Literally.
And, yes, literally, that's what's happening here.
Now it's my turn. I put on my boots, gloves, and apron and gave it a shot.
Let's make some paper. Okay, so we just finished the beating, and now we're going to actually pull sheets of paper from this.
Yes, so you're going to take a mold and deckle. You might have heard like fancy paper has a deckled edge. This is the tool that gives you that deckled edge. So you'll hold these in your hand and dunk them into the vat at a 45-degree angle and then pull it straight up, and you do the little shimmy, kind of like you're
Like a
panning
prospector?
for, yes. But first you want to hog the vat.
Okay.
So you spread your fingers wide and bring them down to the bottom and shake everything up so that the fibers are evenly suspended.
Now let's see if I can get this one. So we're gonna scoop toward me.
Yeah.
All right.
And just dunk it in and pull it right up and give it a little shake as the water drains. That was good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, all right.
After twisting their arms just a little, Taylor and DJ agreed to step in front of the camera to try their hand at paper making.
Nice. I don't know, Tanisha, she might have you beat. Nice, that looks really good. Bravo, bravo.
Once you pull your sheet of paper, you can really get creative and make it your own, adding flowers, dyed pulp, and even a pattern to give it some edge.
Are people surprised with all that you can do?
I think so. I think so, yeah. There's always gasps of joy that happen in workshops because I think that we're missing a lot of this analog, being in touch with making and slowing down. So yeah, this is a moment that can bring us back in touch with that. I also think that it's a very accessible art making technique because you could do it at home with a dumpy blender from Goodwill, or you could do it here with this Hollander beater, but also you can approach it and never have done it before and succeed in doing something in just one workshop. Or you can add a lot more chemistry and do something very specific.
And now, we press.
So Eric, you join us again for the final step. So after you press all the water out, you bring them back here and then tell us what happens.
So we will take the wet sheets and we will layer them on these blotters and stack them up, and we'll end up putting them into the dry box where there are some fans, and that air and these cotton blotters will soak the water out, and then you can have a finished
And
sheet.
that's the finished sheet.
Yeah.
Now, how long does that take? Once it's in the drying box, how long does it have to stay in there?
I would say a good average would be like 12 hours.
What made you want to get into this? What brought in the farm waste, the agricultural waste? How did these two ideas come together for you?
Well, I think it was just living in Illinois, right? I moved here from Austin, Texas, and how do I adjust to living in the Midwest? And so driving down the highway, I-57 up to Chicago, right, you see corn and soybeans and prairie grass, right? So I just started to embrace the land, and that led me here.
Okay, so this is your studio, right, E? And I'm looking here at all the paper here. This looks familiar. Looks like kind of what we just did.
It is.
The pulp painting. And you were talking earlier about how you incorporate a lot of this paper, a lot of these elements into your own art. So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so this is the pulp painting technique that we were doing earlier, just with a larger grid. And then I bring it into these sculptural collages. And I also incorporate, so this is handmade paper and a little bit of pigmented paper from printmaking. And these scraps that I find, these are like pieces of graffiti I've peeled off of a building, other found objects like rocks. So I'm really interested in
Very cool.
including the found objects with the paper that's also made of all of these other materials.
What is your long-term hope for this? You know, what's the dream here?
I'd love to replace tree fiber paper with the type of paper that we're making. That's a big goal, but in the meantime, I feel like I'm a community engaged scholar where I invite the community to the studio and I teach them about land stewardship and paper making.
Fresh Press hosts workshops and classes often, so check out their website to learn more or plan a visit. Thanks to producers Taylor Planton and DJ Roach for getting in on the paper making action, and this is a little bit of what they created. It's kind of cool, isn't it? Speaking of getting in on the action, I decided recently to challenge myself to a 67-mile bike ride. Am I crazy? Maybe, but it was well worth it for the scenery. Here, come along with me for the ride. It's 8:45 a.m. Welcome to Pedal the Preserves. Over the next 24 hours, I am going to bike a total of 67 miles from here in St. Joe at Meyer Field to the Middle Fork Campground and then back here again tomorrow. We're going to camp overnight. I'm going to document the entire journey. This is a great way to see the beauty of the forest preserves here in Champaign County. I am going to do that with a 360-degree camera in the back of my bike and 2 GoPros here in the front and maybe a drone. I am excited because I'm about the only person riding on a 1970s Raleigh bike with very little biking experience, and everybody else looks like pros. What could possibly go wrong, I ask you? We'll find out. I'll see you at Homer Lake. That's our first stop.
I don't mind saying I roll out of bed and I roll up. Ooh, stretch my back and legs.
Pedal the Preserves is an opportunity really to showcase so many of our wonderful preserves to the bicycling community. It's a way to get people that ride bikes to see some of our spaces that perhaps they haven't seen before, and it shows them how to get to our spaces on bicycle.
The ride started on the Kickapoo Rail Trail, which extends 24 miles from East Urbana to Kickapoo State Park in Vermilion County. It passes through some of the most diverse ecosystems in east central Illinois, like woodlands, prairie, and wetlands.
We had 75 people pre-registered, 95 total registered for this weekend. And it's a combination of anything from choose your distance, you can ride a mile or two, 20, about 35, about 65, up to about 85 miles.
So I chose the 67-mile route, which maybe wasn't the best choice for a novice cyclist. I quickly found myself left in the dust on the county roads. But that's okay, I was enjoying the scenery. Biking really gives you a chance to notice the beauty of Illinois crops as they near the end of their growing season and the architecture of farmhouses and homes in the area. But there were miles to go, and I was only approaching my first stop. Welcome to Homer Lake. We made it. We all made it. I made it 7 miles. It felt more like 50. I'm not going to worry about that part of it. It's going to be fine. This is a beautiful forest preserve in Champaign County. It has a wonderful lake, as you can see here. There's an interpretive center where you can see lots of wild animals, raccoons, snakes. You can get a feel for the kind of wildlife here at Homer Lake. There is a beautiful natural playscape for kids, which I bring my kids here all the time to play on that, with a waterfall and all sorts of things. So I've learned some bike etiquette on the way here. Always wave at your fellow bikers because they're always waving. All the bikers wave at each other, and also look on the ground for the route markers because they're all painted on the ground. Anyway, we're on to Royal, which is a teeny tiny town, and it's about 11 miles away, and I'm going right now. Goodbye. I have miles to cover. No sooner had I left Homer Lake Forest Preserve than I busted something important. This intersection here is the scene of the great 360-degree camera crash. I rounded the corner and the 360-degree camera popped right off the back. And now Dan and Taylor are trying to figure out how to fix it. Mostly Dan. How you doing, Dan?
Doing great.
Is it gonna work, Dan?
This might work for a while.
Okay. And then off we go into the distance towards Royal. Royal proved to be quite a trek, another 13 miles from Homer Lake. I quickly ran out of water huffing and puffing through the countryside, so I stopped to hydrate with a peach. Day 1, halfway through. which is when Taylor, the producer, informed me that you pedal about 42 miles of the journey the first day and the remaining 25 or so on day 2. That's when I may have done just a little whining. I don't like that. All right, I better get started then. It is gonna be midnight. Let's fast forward just a little through this part of the trip. I think I see Royal in the distance. And get to the finish line of day 1, the Middle Fork River Forest Preserve. It's the only forest preserve in Champaign County that offers overnight camping and a beach with sand and swimming. But the most spectacular attraction can only be seen at night.
Middle Fork River Forest Preserve in particular is a huge tourist draw because we are the only international dark sky park in the entire state of Illinois. So we get people from all over the country, all over the world I'm sure, as well as the state of Illinois coming to enjoy the skies where there's not light pollution. So you can see the stars, you can see things that you can't see when you're in the city.
Day 1 is over. It's been a very long day. It's been a wonderful trek, and I'm exhausted. I'm going to bed. Good night. After a little breakfast with my fellow fast bikers, I hit the road for a much shorter day 2. Okay, all right, so I didn't make it the whole 67 miles. But the chance to get quality exercise and really take in the beauty of the forest preserves and the countryside was the real point anyway, right?
Having these kinds of spaces that are a little bit wild, they're green, they are so important both to help the health of the earth, but also really to help the health of all of us. You've probably heard stories and some studies over the last few years about the importance of getting out into nature and how that helps your physical and your mental health both. And we feel responsible to provide that for the community because they're not going to always get it anywhere else.
Well, I'm back. It's been tiring, I have to be honest, but it has been such a wonderful experience and such a great way to see the beauty of Champaign County and the forest preserves. And I've made a lot of new friends with swarms of sweat flies, and it's been really, really a wonderful trip. Thanks for coming with me. Now that was tons of fun. You can check with your county forest preserve for similar programs throughout the year. Now we're going to take you to the small town of Forest, Illinois, where a guy named Jerry, with a passion for collecting hats and pens and all sorts of other stuff, has created quite a jaw-dropping museum, in an old church no less.
Welcome to Jerry's Hat Museum here in Forest, Illinois. Come on in and take a gander. I started collecting hats, and it's turned into numerous collections of pens and pencils and memorabilia from the area. I had a man cave in my house, and I just thought I'd start hanging hats on the ceiling to kind of hide the rafters and stuff. You know, it wasn't finished, and it kind of got out of control. So I ended up with my basement full, and then I filled the garage up, and they were stacking up, so I found this building and converted it over to a museum. Right now I have, hanging up, I have 16,844 hats, and I have 33,000 pens and pencils, so it's grown quite a bit. When I bought the building once and got it fixed up, I started with the hats on the ceiling in here. Hung all them by hand with a hand stapler. When I was done with all the high stuff, that's when I built the walls, and I got all the rest with a stepladder. When I get about 100 hats, I start my compressor and I hang hats for the day, you know. I am running out of room, so I'm not sure how many I'm going to get, but I will get 17,000. These are some of the pens that I've collected here and pencils. This is kind of my favorite pencil here. All these boards Each pin is done individually, one at a time. It takes me about an hour and a half to do a 4-foot board like this. I have to do them one at a time. So I've got quite a few hours in here. People would call me, and ended up I get a lot of memorabilia from the area. People have old records and stuff, and they have no place to put them, or so they call me up and I display them. I got, I don't know how many cases down there, a dozen or so, and I display all this memorabilia and stuff from the area, schools, different records from the towns and all that. I got records that go back to the 1800s. It's kind of become a town thing. If they're moving or going to the old folks' home, I get their leftovers. Pictures don't do it justice. You have to come in and walk in the door and see it, I think, and a lot of people tell me that. But I just thought it would be a fun place to come to, and nobody else has one like this. It's just a lot of people, they come from all over the world. I just hope they enjoy it. I mean, when they say, oh my goodness, this is just neat, that makes my day. It was worthwhile doing it. I love showing it off, and it's just, like I say, I have no idea why I came up with this idea of doing this, but I just think it looks great, and it's something you don't see, and when people come and enjoy it, I enjoy it.
So when we began the show, we wanted to create a theme song that invoked both the beauty of this part of the world and the tough, innovative, and creative spirit of Illinoisans and the Midwest. We were very fortunate to have the artist Leah Marlene record the theme song for us. Leah was the third-place winner on season 20 of American Idol, and she's also a native of Normal, Illinois. She joins us here in our studio for a special performance to sing it for us with her band. Thank you so much, Leah, for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You have just finished up a major tour, have you not?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
A bunch of tours kind of mushed together, but I've been opening up for some lovely acts on the road for the past few months, and it's been great.
And tell us, do you have any upcoming releases? Tell us what we can expect from you soon.
You can expect probably a lot of things on social media, but a hiatus, everywhere else. I am kind of going to go back into a creative phase for the rest of the year. I've been doing a lot of business stuff and a lot of front-facing things this whole year, so it's time to really get in the creative gear and make some music for the next project.
Excellent. All right, without further ado, here's Leah Marlene singing Prairie Fire.
She grew up beneath a starry dome, told and scolded she would never make it on her own, fighting fear and doubt most every day. She broke through the smoke and clouds and found her way. You could say she's like a prairie fire, soaring spirit riding on the flames of her desires. And if you feel it burning deep down in your soul tonight, Prairie Fire is the name you'll know her by. Look how you light the midnight sky, Prairie Fire, tell us why. Weary of the danger and the promise of the dark, searching for her flame, waiting for that spark. But once the fire was lit, she was not the same. A young and restless heart, no one could ever tame. Oh, you could say she's like a prairie fire, a soaring spirit riding on the flames of her desire. And if you feel her burning in your soul tonight, Prairie Fire is the name you'll know her by. You could say she's like a prairie fire. You could say she's like a. Oh, you could say she's like a prairie fire, a soaring spirit riding on the flames of her desire. If you feel a burning in your soul tonight, Prairie Fire is the name, you'll know her by. Look how you light the midnight sky. Prairie Fire, tell us why.
Thank you, guys.